week in racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of their shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last thoughts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 257. Mr. Samich, a little bit of a trip there. Yeah, I'm a little thrown off today. It's beautiful, sunny, a little cold outside, but it's seasonably the right temperature in California, but very sunny and warm when you're in the sunlight. And Ricky texted me today, worried because he heard it was raining in California. So I don't know where Ricky's getting his weather report, but we should probably check in on that. But how are you doing? I'd love to check in on you.
I'm doing good, man. It's pouring at Golden Gate, so maybe that's what he's talking about. They're fighting through the rain up there. I'm doing well. It's looking forward to this. Looking forward to this weekend. We got a lot of good racing, so excited about that. There's a ton of big time tournaments going on, so looking forward to playing a bunch of those this weekend. Man, this sequence, we're covering the Stronach 5 sequence. We both talked about this before we came on air. It's a mess, man. Like, this is the lowest level of the lowest level at every single track, and so it's tough to – like, it's funny. Sometimes I have monster opinions in these races, and in one of these races, I do have a pretty solid opinion. The rest of them, man, it's tough. Like, I could see – I almost considered going all in two separate legs. That's how ridiculous I thought this sequence was.
No, I'm totally with you. And we agreed on which two races we thought were all buttons. And we also agreed on a lot of similar horses. We have a couple of differences here, but at least it made me feel better, Mike, that you and I seem to see the ball a little bit the same direction. I went really short when you went the deepest, and that's mostly because I just went like this to the track that put that field. Yeah. Hats off to Laurel, because they gave us two very tough ones, especially the middle leg here. I hate it as a handicapper, but lots of prices to be won there. So we'll take some swings. We are doing the Stronach 5. If you're unfamiliar, this is a $1 minimum wager covering 5 specific races at Stronach-owned tracks, so Golden Gate, Santa Anita, Gulfstream, Laurel Park, Pimlico if they're ever around. It combines those races. It's a 12% takeout, which is a very low sequence. You get that $1 minimum wager so that your payouts are going to get extra juice from that. Oh, and on top of that, Mike, got a $155,000 carryover going into this, because if this doesn't pay out to a winning ticket, it just keeps rolling over, baby.
Yeah, and with $155K in the pool and a 12% takeout, you got to expect we're going to have close to $1 million in this pool. And I this is one where I would be very surprised if this chalks out. I think you're actually going to get a pretty nice payout on this spot. So it's going to be a fun one to cover. It's a dollar denomination, like you said. So this is probably the longest I've taken to put a ticket together. Just trying to, I have so many freaking scribbles on my sheet here when you look at it, of all the times that I changed the way that I actually was going to sequence this ticket. And so a tough sequence, but looking forward to it. And it'll be a fun one. We can pop it on Friday, start the weekend right.
Well, before we get into it, Mike, this card probably is one of the best things you've seen, but what is the best thing that you saw?
Well, first I got a quick little update on the last best thing I saw. Todd and Sam the Bugler both got in. So we got both of these guys home now. So that's 2 more bobbleheads to add.
Very nice.
The drunken shopping spree. This one's pretty easy, man. Best thing I saw, the NCAA tournament. Like, it's not even close. I didn't realize how much I missed it until I actually filled out a bracket. And now, oh God, you guys are playing tonight. Until I fill out a bracket, and now I realize, like, I missed the NCAA tournament. I'm so happy to have it back. It's the only time of the year I watch True TV, so we got True on for the play-in game. But it's just a blast to have it back and get some semblance of the tournament. It's not the normal, obviously, with the big weekends and the separation and everything, but it's great to have it going. I can't wait for tomorrow. I mean, the opening day of the NCAA tournament is one of my favorite days of the year. Just because, like, you have all these games from morning to night. I remember living in Vegas and going to the casino. It was one of the better experiences because you're in a sports book with just a ton of people, right? And everyone's rooting for something, but you don't always know what it is. Like the layup with 0 seconds on the clock by the team that's down 18 and someone's going nuts in the back because they had plus 17 and a half. Like, you get the fun moments like that. So it's always was one of my favorites when I was living in Vegas, and I just can't wait to have all the buzzer beaters and all the action tomorrow.
It's exciting, and I forget that we didn't get a chance to have it last year, but because the pandemic hit right when things were about to get going. One year I was really like phenomenally good at this, and what I did for breaking, because I don't follow college basketball, I barely follow Michigan State, which is the banner you see back here. They're not a good team this year compared to usual, so not looking forward to watching them so much. But one year I just went and looked at what the Vegas odds were. I didn't read any synopses, any analyses of any individual games. I said, who's got the different, who's the odds? And if it was at least a 3.5 point favorite, I took that team. And if it was under a 3.5 point favorite, I went with the dog. So I ended up hitting, I think, 65% of my bets, because then I just kept betting how I had my bracket played out. So that was a pretty good year. That's nice. A very, very large anomaly. And I'm a small I'm a small better. I'm like like $20 a game kind of thing. So this isn't like I got rich enough to buy a house out here or anything. But it is exciting. I do want to know, who is your bracket, the Mike Somich, the Samobomb bracket? Who is winning the NCAA tournament?
Well, first, got to give props to Dr. Miranda. She put together a pool. So if you want to get involved in that with us, it's on Twitter. Check her out at Miranda Bunge. So, yeah, for me, look, I chalked out, which is in this year, it's kind of odd because you would think that you have all these different precautions and you could have a bunch of different upsets, things like that. And I don't have all the 1 seeds, but I do think Gonzaga is the best team. They've been the best team throughout the entire season. They've got a bunch of senior leadership. They've got a bunch of scoring from the point guards. They're big. So I think they're going to be awfully tough to beat. And it would be fun to see Gonzaga actually cut down the nets after going from like that Cinderella story in the early 2000s and going through all these phases of now being a powerhouse. It would be fun to see them actually win one.
I remember one of the very first memories I have of any NCAA tournament is when I was growing up as a kid. My neighbor across the street was actually the star point guard on our basketball team in high school. But he was watching. I didn't even know what the basketball tournament was, but he was all about this guy named Wally Zerbiak, and he was all about Wally's World. And if you remember, there was the TV show Bobby's World, and then Wally's World. Obviously, that we love Bobby's World, the TV show, but obviously it's Wally's World, the amusement park from the original Vacation movie. But I think he was on Gonzaga, and ever since then, I've always liked Gonzaga. They always do really well. They're hidden out there in like northwestern Washington, so nobody really knows what's going on 99% of the time until the tournament comes. And it's like, oh yeah, Gonzaga's a number 1 seed for like the 15th straight year or something. So
well, it's crazy because they started out as like a 10 seeds, 12 seeds, things like that, and they've slowly built that program up to the point where they're now a powerhouse consistently. And you look at Zerbiak, and then Adam Morrison was the first time they were like a 3 seed, and then he ended up crying on the court against UCLA, and they just got better and better and better, and now here we are, best team in the country.
So here, because I will tell you who is not going to win because I never get the ultimate championship right in my brackets. I think that the state of Texas is going to have a massive tournament. So I have Houston beating Baylor, and then beating Kansas, who beats Texas. So I've got Kansas, Texas, Houston, Baylor in the Final Four, and Houston winning it all. So that is a lock of what is not going to happen. So if you're a big fan of the Houston Cougars, I am so sorry. I can take bribes to change my pick next year.
I guess Wally Zerbiak went to Miami, Ohio, and we're totally wrong. But anyway, we'll move on from that.
Oh, I really had no idea. We'll see. This is how much I pay attention. The best thing that I saw. So I was listening to Tom Amos tell this story on Steve Bick a couple of days ago. So no parole. Remember, he won the grade 1 Woody Stevens. Amazing sprinter for Tom Amos. He's a 4-year-old. He's coming back, and he's going to be on turf. And he's a Louisiana bred, so he's going to be on the the Louisiana Derby. I forget what race we're on. The Louisiana Derby undercard. He's going to be in a turf sprint stakes. 14 horses can go into the gate for this race, so a big field. And the preference for this, Mike, it's interesting. They give preference to turf earnings. No Parole has never tried turf. They had at one point 15 horses that were going to go into the gate, and No Parole was going to be on the outside looking in. One horse dropped out, but what I love about it is that one trainer entered 4 horses trying his ass off to keep No Parole out of the starting gate in that race, and it didn't work. And I could hear Tom Amos's voice like, yeah, nice try, and now I'm going to make you pay for it. So I don't know if he's actually going to win. I'm not saying he's going to win. I hope he does, because the gamesmanship and the horsemanship that's going on here from it's Fichot. I say his name, Ray Fichot, or Ron Fichot. I can't even remember. But Mr. Fichot did this with 4 horses, and I love the effort to try and do it. But we'll see if it works out for either one of them.
That's amazing. I love that someone entered 4 horses to try and keep him out of there. And I'm excited to see. I didn't know he was sprinting this weekend. That's going to be awesome to see him back in action. And it'll be interesting to see him on the turf.
Yeah, if he can handle the turf even just a tiny bit, he should win that race because that horse is incredible, and he does have turf pedigree. If you go a little bit farther back, I heard Tommy was talking about. So, be very curious to see that. But we are going to be looking at Friday Stronach 5. Thank you so much for joining us live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Give us a like, a thumbs up. We appreciate it. Let's get into it, Mike. Riders up.
Hey, Magic, did you watch the Rocket Hour this morning?
I did. I saw he got to break the news about Everybody Racing News working with Manscaped.
Yeah, man, Manscaped.com sent us what they call the perfect package, which totally fits, by the way. It's got lots of good stuff inside.
Oh, yeah. So they got this electric razor. They call it the Lawnmower 3.0. It's cordless, it's waterproof, it's rust resistant, so you can take it in the shower, so it makes it easier for the little hairs and stuff to go away. It's easy to clean, which is nice, and it's a really safe way to keep yourself pretty well manicured down below the waist.
Like a freshly trimmed Arlington Park turf course.
Oh, yes, sir. That's great. Just like that, the perfect package also includes a ball spray toner, which sounds weird, but it'll keep you feeling fresh even if you're coming off of a layoff. And there's also this anti-chafing deodorant. You can use that to protect you when you're sweating out that inquiry at the track. It's all really great stuff in this thing.
The perfect package also comes with the premium boxers, which feel amazing when you put them on when you're done cleaning.
God, dude, I put the boxers on like I was a joke. I was like, I'm gonna try these on, and then I was like, oh my god, like this stuff actually works. And what's gonna feel even more amazing, Mike? If you go to manscaped.com, you use the promo code MAGICMIKE, MAGICMIKE, all one word.
That's for 20% off plus free shipping on your first order.
But wait, Mike, there's more.
Oh, only for the Magic Mike Army. If you use the code Magic Mike and send us a screenshot of your order, we're going to let you pick a future episode. Well, we'll draw one person to let you pick a future episode of what track we're going to cover.
Oh yeah, and not only that, you get to send us your pick 4 ticket in advance. We're going to put it on the screen, and you get to battle head to head on the Magic Mike Show with the experts.
Wait, Aaron's joining us for an episode?
Go to manscaped.com, use promo code MAGICMIKE. That's all one word. It's going to get you 20% off, plus free shipping, plus you'll get to be a big part of a future episode of the Magic Mike Show.
Make sure you support the Magic Mike Army. Use the code MAGICMIKE, 20% off.
Your balls will thank you. All right, Mike, let's get into things here. The first race we're going to look at for kicking off the Stronach 5 on Friday. I'm so used to saying Saturday. Friday, March 19th, we're going to Laurel Park, race 8 on their card. A field of 8 3-year-old fillies, all going 6 furlongs on the main tracks as non-winners of one other than 3 of these 8, Mike, are actually in for that optional $62.5 thousand tag. Favoritism is on the number 2, Little Huntress, at 3-1. She was my top pick, and she is your top pick as well. Please take it away.
Yeah, I mean, look, I went through a bunch of different ticket structures here. At one point, I was 3 deep in this race. I don't think you need to go much more than 3 deep. Ironically, I agree with you on the 3 horses that you used to kind of get out of this spot. But my strongest opinion on the entire sequence here was with the 2, Little Huntress. And so I'm going to single it up and start off the ticket here with a single. Look, you not only do you get the Russells, who are doing a phenomenal job there. Brittany Russell training at a 34% clip. You got Sheldon Russell riding at a 25% clip. But you look at the races that this horse is coming out of, where it broke its maiden by 14 lengths, running up front, setting the pace. I want a horse with speed in this spot, even though there is a ton of speed in this race. And then you look at the second race, or the next race, where it runs in the Wide Country Stakes, $100,000 stakes race. And I don't mind this running line that much. I mean, some people might kind of take shots at it because the horse loses by 12 lengths and runs 8th. But look, this is a speed horse. It got absolutely cooked up front, went under 45 seconds, dueled itself out of contention. And then I don't care how much you lose by after that. I just care that you showed that. That was going 7 furlongs. I think the cut back to 6 here helps this horse. I like the fact that we're speed on the rail. We'll be able to get to the turn first, cut the corner, and hopefully get home. So I'm going to go with a 2 as Little Huntress is my single here. I'll kick it over to you to the other 2 horses that you're going to use, because those are the other two that I considered here in this spot.
Yeah, I'll touch on those just a quick second. Little Huntress, so I do all the recaps for racingnews.com. Do the Laurel Park recaps, the stakes ones. I say the Russell names or type the Russell names a whole hell of a lot. So the first thing I did for each of these Laurel races, Mike, is I went, where are the Russells? And I love that they're in this one. I hate that they're not in the other one, because it would have made that one a lot easier for me. But I agree with all the points that you made. Street Loot, the horse that beat her in the Wide Country, that was her 5th straight victory. She did lose last weekend in a stakes, but that was stretching out to a mile. It was very clear that a mile was too hard for her. So the fact that Street Loot beat her and then lost next out, I'm not taking anything away from Little Huntress. Also, she's co-owned by Bob LaPenta and Madaket Stables. They tend to have a lot of horses that you may see in the Kentucky Derby. I also use the 2 horses I used that Mike almost used. I'll start with the 8 Paradise Song, 7-2 on the morning line here. Mike Trombetta, Julian Pimentel, very talented each in their own right. They do well when they're together, including 2 starts with this horse together. Julian was aboard when she broke her maiden over this course 2 starts back. Got a really nice, respectable 68 buyer. First time with Race Day Lasix. Comes back at this level, 6 furlongs. Doesn't get the job done, but was right there, prominent early. It just got caught, but that was first time facing winners. Now it's second time facing winners. You got that experience under the belt. To me, I almost went too deep because I thought this seems like the most logical contender to the favorite. So I really like her moving forward. And then the 6, Hypnotizada. I should have made you try and say that last one. She is getting Race Day Lasix back for the first time since she broke her maiden. Got a really nice 67 buyer. This was at Delaware Park, but Carol Cedino, she was aboard that day. She follows to ride the horse here. She could have been on a couple of other horses. I like that she's going to be on this one. She and the trainer, Anthony Pecoraro, they're just 1 for 12 at Laurel, but they're 30% overall. So I would ignore the fact that they haven't quite found all that success at Laurel. My big concern here, it's the long layoff. We haven't seen her since August when she was in the Debutante Stakes. And it's been 12 days since her last recorded work. She was based down in Florida. They shipped her up here. I'm sure she's had some trips over the track, but I don't love that for a horse that's coming back after a long layoff, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I thought both of these were the logical choices. I think the 8 horse is the horse that could win from off the pace if it's not able to make the lead. But one of the reasons why, after going through this a couple of times, I really did end up with the 2 horse. I mean, even if you look at Paradise Song, the 8, who was my second pick as well, the half miles in the last 2 races were 46-3 and 47-1. And we got the 2 horse who can go 44-4. So the speed of the 2 horse it's not just speed, it's quickness too, right? I mean, this horse is just faster than the rest of these. If you look at Hypnotizada, the race 2 back at 5.5, the horse goes 46 for the half mile. 46 is 5 lengths behind the 2. So I just think the 2 is faster than these, and that's why I ended up singling here. I don't disagree with your 6 or your 8. I think those are the next 2 logical horses, but when you look at it, man, the 2 is just faster. The 3 I thought was a little interesting too, but I'm not sure. The fact that race was taken off the turf kind of maybe step back a little bit. And again, the first half mile, and they go 23, 46, and 4. It's just not as fast as what the 2 can do. I don't think anyone's going to be able to run with the 2. I think it's going to make it awfully difficult to catch Little Huntress in this spot.
Let's move on to the second leg. We'll go to one of your favorite tracks, Mike, Gulfstream Park. We're looking at race 8 on their card. Field of 8 fillies and mares 4 and up, and we're going right down to the bottom. Open 62.50. Claimers. Whoo, boy. Favoritism is on the number 2. Assume Control at 3-1. I'm taking a stand against her. I think this is a vulnerable favorite. I understand you're using her. I'm going to guess a little defensively, but I'll let you take it over.
Yeah, this is one of the last horses on the ticket. And I almost went all in this leg. So it tells you how much I like this. Look, this race kind of, for me, starts with the pace. These 62.5 level races are just, they're wonky at Gulfstream Park. You see these horses trade wins left, right, and center because it's really hard for them to run back-to-back consistent races or run well. So one of the reasons I mentioned that is because if you see a horse coming out of a bad race, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a good idea to leave that horse off. When I started looking at this race, to me, it really came down to pace. And you have at least 4 horses that I think want the lead or will run their best on the lead. That does include the 2, Assume Control, who went wire to wire or gate to wire last time out. The 3 horse Bohemian Girl and the 6 horse Flashing Diamond, I think, are going to hook up. Both of them are coming out of sprint races, 6 furlongs and 6.5 furlongs respectively. Both of them quit like dogs going a mile, and that's what we're going today. So a lot of my handicapping started with not using those 2 horses and believing they're going to kind of cook each other up on the front end, and it's going to set up for someone to come from off the pace. That leads me to the 4 horse, Atana, who, and I don't usually like to do this, take dead closers in this low-level race. But you get Paco. If you look the race 4 back, this horse ran a 70 buyer, similar level, non-winners at 3, but it's still a similar level to what we're at today. And the horse was able to get a nice setup with 23-47 opening first quarter and half, and able to come running and win by 6 that day. Last time out was 7-1 against Assume Control and She Takes Heart, and just didn't have that same run, was able to make a somewhat move, but not get, but was swung 4 or 5 wide and just couldn't get up. I think this is going to set up really well for her coming from the back. And so I'm going to start with Atana here. The other horse that I'm going to use is right to the outside as a must use, and that's She Takes Heart. This horse was running first off a layoff last time. We're getting second off a layoff here. And again, I think this is kind of the horse that's going to sit the trip. This horse has more speed than Atana. So this is going to be in that first flight right behind the 3 or 4 speed horses, and it's going to get first run. I think this horse probably makes the lead at some point in the race. The question is, does this horse hold on to that lead once it makes it? Not 100% sure about that, but I do think She Takes Heart fits really well here from a stylistic perspective, and is going to be able to get a great trip.
I agree with you, though. She Takes Heart was my second choice. The second off the layoff, I think, is a good one. Didn't give up. So, we talk a lot with these older fillies and mares. When they hit a certain point and they just say they don't want to run, they just quit. She didn't look like she was quitting, and that was a long layoff she was coming back from. She's got a good back class. The concern with her last victory was 37 months ago, but... This is a bottom level claimer. She's got really good back class, like I said. So hopefully we can get that. Another horse that we agree on, the other one, because we agreed on 2 of them. Let's talk about the 8, Grace's Drama. Her effort 3 races back wins this. And this is something I've picked up from you, Mike, not that long ago, that you've probably said it, and I just now am starting to remember it. So I'll caveat it with that. But that when you get to these bottom levels, stop looking for the last out. Look 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 back to see what's going to fit. Because, like you said, it gets real wonky in these low-level races. This is a horse who's 9 for 29 at this distance. She's 10 for 27 at Gulfstream Park. She clearly likes it. 10 of her 11 wins, mind you, at Gulfstream Park. That last effort at this level, first off the claim, really shitty. It was behind Assume Control, but Assume Control was pretty slow. I don't know if we talked about it, but that was a very slow race that she was able to wire. She's not going to get that setup here. And the fact that Grace's Drama was just so far behind throughout means she probably needed them to come back to her a little bit. And if you look at that race 3 back, if she can be a little more interested in it, it's a good sign. I like that the morning line is 7-2. I like that her odds seem to always be right in the same range in the last several races. So I feel like everyone else is saying it's okay. Just forget about that last one. These aren't stakes horses. Go ahead and use her.
Yeah, and the last time she ran a sub 50 buyer, she came back with a 68 the next time out, right? I mean, it's just a horse that you're not going to see that consistency. And she had been consistent for quite a while. That's why she was 2-1 at this level. And you had a clunker. They're going to throw clunkers in when they're running for $6,250. There's a reason they're running at this level at Gulfstream Park. And, these are decent-sized purses. I mean, the purse is $21,000. So more than 3 times the claiming price, which is pretty rare for this level. So I do think that the 8 is an interesting play here as well. And I agree with you. That last race was a little funky. Assume Control made the lead. She doesn't usually do that. The pace was... if you look at how slow they came home there in the last quarter, I mean, 27 seconds for the last quarter mile, and the horse wires the field. Tells you that everyone was just not closing. And Gulfstream Park have been playing to speed on that day as well. So everything kind of just worked out well for Assume Control. And that's sometimes how horses win at this level, is that everyone runs a clunker on the same day and one horse runs better. So I think this is one of those races where if you want to hit the all button, you can. I don't really like the 3 or the 6, and so that made me move away from hitting the all button because they're going to be 2 of the shorter prices. And if I do that, I don't want to have 2 horses I think are going to be sub 5-1 as the 2 that I want to try to beat. So I did end up going 4 deep here, including the 2 Assume Control with the 4, 5, and the 8. But I thought this was one of the tougher races. You could legit make a case for any one of these horses.
Well, I'm going to try and make a case for my top pick, who you just said you're not going to use, which is the 3 Bahamian Girl. The reason I'm using her, and you make all great points, Mike, about the speed duel and the potential to get sucked in. She's also going to be inside of that speed duel if you think the 6 goes with her. But I watched that race 2 back when she was going 7 furlongs, just a little shorter, and she was very fast, 23. She went 45-3 in the second split there. That means she went 22-3 in the second split there. She ended up not being able to hold on, but only by a neck. And so I think that she's got the grit and the determination that if she gets sucked into a speed duel, that would be great. Here's the problem. That's the only time beyond 6.5 furlongs that she's looked pretty good. So there is concern there. I do have distance questions, but she's also a 4-year-old. It's earlier in the 4-year-old season. She's one of the very few, if not the only one, that might just be doing a little bit of an upward trajectory, and she is taking a slight class drop. But I understand why you're not playing her. And speaking of class drop, real quick, Nick Feldman brings up the 7 here, who neither of us are using the 7 horse's interest. He says, is it worth playing as a wild card? Turf Dirt dropping in class. It's coming out of some $16,000, but non-winners of 1 in the past year. So, Mike, it is a $16,000 tag to a $6,250, but do you see this as that much of a class drop because of the caveat about non-winners of 1 in a year?
not as big as it looks on paper. I would say that the $16,000 turf kit level is a little more competitive. You need to run a little bit higher buyers to win than you do at this level on the dirt. So I do think that you could make a case that the 7 could run back to it. But for me, you got an 0 for 17 barn with an 0 for 48 jockey. And the dirt races so we do have a couple mile dirt races on here on the card. And they're, the buyers are 52, 26, and 45. So the buyers you've seen drop off significantly in the back form when they do run on dirt. So that tells me this horse just doesn't like the dirt that much. And man, it's tough. $410,000 purchase price down here for $6,250. That's not a great thing. But yeah, the jockey trainer combination, the fact that I don't like, if this horse was a speed horse, I'd be a little more interested. But they would need this would need to be a collapse race where everything just absolutely collapses for the 7 to be able to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, she was leading early in one race, but I'm looking at her form, and it's literally that one race, so I would say that's more the outlier than anything else. But, Nick, thank you for the question. We'll move on to the third leg of the Stronach 5 on Friday. God, I'm still doing it. Friday, March 19th. Let's go back to Laurel Park, race 9 on the card for them, and this is the FU race from Laurel. No, I'd rather not, Mike, but we've got fans like Nick Sievers who love this stuff, so we're going to do it for folks like Nick and for Nick Feldman. Nick and Nick, here you go. Field of 13 maiden fillies and mares ages 4 or 5. In for a $10,000 tag. Favoritism is on the number 10 Thunder in the Valley at 9-5. And this 5.5 furlong dirt sprint, Mike, I went too deep and just went, please God, get me out of here and on to Santa Anita.
Yeah, I'm going to spread like crazy here. I'm going 6 deep. I was all over the place on this one. Look, I don't know how you can trust any of these horses. That's my biggest issue with this spot. I have no clue how you can trust any of these horses. I always talk about look for speed, so I'm going to go to the 10 horse here, who I do believe is probably your speed in this spot. I like the fact that we get the 10-pound bug advantage here, so that helps. The horses run pretty good races back to back to back, running high 30s buyers in one of those, which is impressive for this field.
God, are we back at Fauner Park? Is that what's happening here?
Yeah, it feels like it. I'm watching Gulfstream because I was in a tournament, so I just got one home there. So I've got a sweat now for a seat there. Anyway, so the 10, yeah, Thunder in the Valley is going to be my top pick here. But I am about as confident in this as I am in who's going to. I don't even know anything. I can't even come up with an analogy of how unconfident I am about this race. So I'm going to use the 10. To me, the 4 horse was the next one that I felt you kind of had to use. Turkish Angel, and we talked about class drops last time. This is like a monster class drop that may not look like it, but oh, wow, is it huge. Going from Santa Anita $20,000 maiden claimers to Laurel Park $10,000 maiden claimers is a massive class drop. It's like going from the NCAA tournament to the NIT when you're a 1 seed. Like you should roll the NIT when you drop down there. Horse hasn't really shown much in a bunch of starts, so there's a lot of reasons to knock the 4. But man, the class drop alone here makes you want to play it. I mean, we talk about like Santa Anita go to Golden Gate and you see a huge advantage. You talk about Tampa go to Gulfstream and you see a huge advantage. This is like a 3-tier drop in my mind, especially at this level. So I think you're going to see a lot better effort from the 4. So those are the first 2 I used. Magic, I'll kick it over to you. Use one of those and then another one that I use. So I'll let you talk a little bit now. Yeah,
that makes for an easy transition. The 10. You said everything you need to about her. The fact that she's 11 starts and has hit the board in 9 of those and just can't seem to win. It's like one of these times that she's just going to flip and break through. It's got to happen. And it's funny because that's something that we're going to talk about again with the horse a little later when we go back to Golden Gate. The other horse that I used, that you also used, the 8 Shuffleboard. This is an interesting one, and I love that you used it because I was using a Mike Samich angle to get to this horse. She debuts going 5.5 furlongs over so same exact course and distance here. She's 5-2 when she debuts for a barn that's 2 for 39 in 2020, so not a high percentage barn at all. Kevin Gomez was aboard. He's not aboard this time, but Kevin Gomez is he's a middling jockey. He's not the best. He's not the worst. Okay, so now we fast forward. Now the horse is 15-1. Yeah, she didn't run a lick, but that was her debut, and now she's 15-1 when she was 5-2. Victor Rosales has got very comparable percentages to Kevin Gomez, so I would say that that's a wash as far as the jockey change goes. And as low percentage as the barn is, trainer Dove Houghton has gotten a winner, maiden second start, 1 for 5 with a 924 ROI, which means you got a great price, and we're going to get a great price here. I don't know if 15-1 holds, but that is exactly what caught my attention. Is that what got yours?
Yeah, that first race is too bad to believe when you go off at 5-2, and so you got to think that there's a little bit more talent in there. The second off is obviously this. I saw that second too, 1-for-5. I'll take the 1-for-5. Hey, it's a one of the 2 wins, so why not? Like, we'll take it.
That's more wins than anyone else in this field. So
yeah, and so so we'll take that, and we've got a shot here with the 15-1 price. So I again, that first race is just it's too bad to be believed. So I do think that the 8 has a shot here. I think a lot of horses have a shot here. I considered hitting the all button again. I went to the 2 next, who I think is going to get bet more than I necessarily like. Best races on turf, but we've got those low 40s, high 30s buyers, so it just kind of fits. So if you're spreading here, I think you kind of have to use the 2. I felt the same way about the 5, where I don't really love this horse. I'm not going to talk about it for a long time, but the last 2 are on slop. I mean, you can come up with angles as to why this horse fits again. And the 2 and the 5, I feel like, are the horses that if you're spreading, you can't really leave them off. That if you're going 6 deep, you kind of have to include those 2. The last horse that made my ticket, so I used the 2, the 4, the 5, the 8, the 10, and I'm going to take a flyer on the 11 horse, classy but sassy. So this horse ran at Laurel Park. It's got a couple 40s buyers. Both those were on the turf. Then it switched barns, went to Mountaineer, ran in a low-level race at Mountaineer, took some money there, went off around 3-1, showed a little bit of speed, and then kind of faded toward the end. And now we're back here. We pick up Rosado, who I like as a jockey. We go back to the original trainer who had this horse when it was at Laurel previously. Look, that race was over a year layoff. So I didn't expect – you can't expect too much. The fact that they brought it back to Laurel, I actually think is a good sign. I think it means that they think that horse needed that race. They wanted to get one into it, and now they think the horse can run well. I'll take the 10-1 price. I think this is going to be the horse that's with the 10, kind of pressing the pace. And, it might even make the lead, considering that the 10 doesn't necessarily make the lead with its speed. So I think the 11's a sneaky price at 10-1.
I also like that you're on the 11. That's where I was going with my third pick. If there's a scratch, this is where I'm going. I know the answer for me is never. When was the last time you bet a South Carolina bred? I had to look up what the 11, what SC meant next to the side there is South Carolina. I didn't even know South Carolina had a breeding program. Did you?
No, I didn't. It's funny, some of these where you kind of, the horses, they come from all over the place. But no, I had no clue that South Carolina had a breeding program.
Well, listen, when you're at the bottom level of the maidens at Laurel Park, sometimes you get some interesting mixes in here. I think the point that Mike and I are really trying to drive home is between the second leg at Gulfstream, the third leg back here at Laurel. If you've got an opinion, and we didn't talk about it, like if you like the first-time starter, the first-time starter, the 6, indubitable. Nick Feldman says worth a shot just because that's the only horse that hasn't disappointed anybody yet. Worth a shot. I didn't use. Did you consider the 6 at all?
Not really, but I wouldn't tell you to not use any of it. Like if you have an angle that you like any of these horses, like Magic said, I would take a flyer with it. And the first time starter in this field isn't a bad flyer to take. I mean, it's an unknown horse with a lot of crappy horses around it. So this is one of those races where if the 10 doesn't win, literally any horse could win. Like the 10 horse is the most logical on paper. The 2 horse is the other horse that people will point to as a logical on paper horse. After those 2, it could take, if they both don't run well, it could take a 32 buyer to win this. So, if Flip Magic there at the top of the stretch when they hit the gate, and he might beat him home. So there's just not a lot in this race. So you kind of have to search for little other angles. This is one where, again, I considered hitting the all button in this spot at one point and singling both the first and the last leg on this ticket.
I got a 24 buyer for the Anita 5K a couple of years ago, so I'm right behind you. I'm improving, but it's been a long layoff, so we'll see what happens. Let's head to my favorite track, Mike, Anita Park, for the 4th leg of the Stronach 5 on Friday, March 19th. Race 3 on their card. There's a field of 9 maiden 3-year-olds, which includes 8 males and 1 filly, in for a $30,000 tag, going a 2-turn mile on the dirt. Favoritism is on the number 7, Simmer Down, the filly in the race at 3-1. She made my ticket, but there's a horse that I almost wanted to single here. And the best part, Mike, we're in full agreement. So you pick which of those 2 you want to talk about first.
Well, I did have the 7 as my top pick. So I'll talk about the 7 first, and then I'll let you talk about your other buddy here. So Simmer Down, look, this horse ran well the last 2 times. We've talked about the Ryan Hansen barn quite a bit on the last couple shows. This is out of the Ryan Hansen barn. It's going to show speed. We both like Edwin Maldonado on speed horses, so I like him going to the lead here. And this is one of those spots where I want the horse that's going to be in the lead turning for home. I don't see a ton of horses that love to pass other horses here. And there's also not a ton of other speed. I mean, the only other horse that I think may try and go to the lead is Royal Orb, which is right to the outside of the 7. And Simmer Down is just faster. So I think Simmer Down makes the first turn before the 8 does, Royal Orb. And if Simmer Down gets the first turn first, it's going to Simmer Down's going to be in the lead at the top of the stretch. And it's just that simple at this level. So for me, Simmer Down was a top pick. I was too deep in every single ticket I used. I'd never even considered using 3 horses in this spot. Simmer Down was the first one I used. I'll let you talk about the second one.
Before we get there, Simmer Down, so the reason I use both these horses is because of my trip notes. And my trip notes for this horse losing last out when Emily Ellingwood was aboard is that the horse needs someone with a little more control over a speed horse, which is exactly what Maldonado is. Listen, Emily Ellingwood is great, but she is young. She's still really new. She's a bug jockey. Edwin Maldonado is neither of those things. He's pretty strong. He can handle the gate horses really well. So I think that this horse just needs someone who can get her to settle down a little bit. And I think Maldonado's the right person for it. I almost singled the 4 short rib here. And if it wasn't for the fact that the 7 might just be the so fast that nobody can catch her, I would end up singling the 4 short rib. And again, the trip notes. Last time out was 2-1 second choice. The race, Robin's Legacy, the winner was Gate to Wire. This horse got pushed 4-5 wide into the first turn, kept wide on the backstretch, wide through the far turn. It just got gassed. And this was the horse's trying to drop a little bit in class here, but Pfeiffer had him in a good spot. Once the stretch run came, he just was empty. And it's not his fault. He just covered about twice as much ground as anybody else. But now we're coming back at the same level. If you see on the PPs, Leandro Mora, that is Doug O'Neill's assistant. O'Neill's just serving a suspension right now, so don't assume anything has changed with the training. And in fact, Leandro Mora, 8 starts so far, 3 wins in 3 seconds. So things really just going business as usual for the Doug O'Neill barn there. So all those reasons, plus the fact that she almost won at a slightly higher level, that he almost won with Jessica Pfeiffer aboard, 2 back at a slightly higher level, tells me all systems are go on this horse.
Yeah, this is one of the rare instances where we both had this horse stabled up. Where I also watched that race and played that race because I believe it was a Samabam day for me, and I stabled this horse up immediately. I thought that this was the best horse coming out of that race. I went back and watched the replay before we did this show. No chance. This horse never had a chance. And you look at the race it ran 2 back where it was very competitive. Then you see that last race. You just got to draw a line through it. And if you go back and watch the replay, the horse was wide on both turns. It was done by the stretch, like you said. And so I expect a lot better effort here out of short rib. And so I think you can get out of this race with the 4 and the 7. You don't need to go any deeper.
Mike, do me a quick favor. On the PPs for Simmer Down, the last 2 races, what is the name of the horse that was 3rd in both of those races?
Madeline Crew?
Or Maiden Crew, who was the favorite in the final race of the Stronach 5. We're going to Golden Gate Fields for race 3 up there. I'm sorry. I didn't tee you up very well. I'm sorry. That's my fault. Bad hosting job. But Maiden Crew, the 6 horses, the even money favorite, shipping up to Golden Gate, dropping down to their bottom level. $8,000 tag to take on 7 other 3-year-old maiden fillies going a mile on the synthetic course. And Mike, it's a little sad that we didn't get to do any turf racing for the Stronach 5 this week, but we got synthetic, so we're about halfway there. And Maiden Carew, even money, has been a consistent money burner her last 2 starts. Will we see more of the same up at Golden Gate?
I mean, it's possible. She's definitely going to be the favorite, right? Like, there's no way that horse isn't the favorite. I thought this race was pretty open and shut for me. I do think that Maiden Crew is, and by the way, asking people to read PP is just a terrible idea. It is so hard sometimes to tell what the heck.
I thought you had the paper ones. I didn't realize you were going to have to lean forward. I'm sorry.
So Maiden Crew is the logical horse here, right? We talked about going from track to track, and I even referenced going from Santa Anita to Golden Gate. We've got 3 horses doing that here. I'm going to use 2 of those 3. I'm interested to see who's going to end up in the lead, the 2-horse Malibu Jewel, or if it's going to be the 6-horse Maiden Carew. Either way, I think the 6 is probably the class of this field and could get the job done as long as we get a pretty good trip here. I don't really mind the barn switch from Miller to Miati, so I'm not too worried about that. I think that the 2 ends up making the lead, and that's why the 2 made my ticket. I feel like Maiden Carew is going to have to close and have to come from a little bit off the pace, probably stalk the 2 Malibu Jewel on the outside. And with the track record we have of Maiden Carew consistently not getting the job done, I don't want to take what is going to be 3 to 5 on a horse I don't think is going to be in the lead turning for home that doesn't like to pass horses. That just seems like a really bad recipe for success to me. So I'm going to use the 6 Maiden Carew, and I did have the 6 as my top pick because on paper it is the most logical horse. But I'm going to use Malibu Jewel as well. And I think Malibu Jewel makes the lead. Malibu Jewel also coming north, had run in sprint races here at Golden Gate and showed in speed going 22-ish numbers. I have a feeling that we're going to see that same speed with Rahman on board. I think 2 makes the first turn in the lead. I think the 2 is turning for home in the lead, and the 6 is going to have to try and run it down. So I'll go 2 deep here Use the 2 Malibu Jewel and the 6 Maiden Karoo.
God, I wanted so badly to not use Maiden Karoo, but everything about her says you got to use her. It's just a defensive thing, and hope that somebody else with a better price, because you're going to get no value on her, even with that nice carryover and the 12% takeout for the Stronach 5. The 2 was my top choice here. I think she's just really fast. This is a horse who, by the way, I don't know if you remember this, Mike. She was one of your plays in her last start at Santa Anita when she was in for maiden 30 tag. And the big reason you loved is because Jonathan Wong, Ricky Gonzalez, they have pretty strong percentages together. Ricky was aboard. She stumbled out of the gate, and lost all chance. Ricky didn't try and use her. So scratch that race off completely, other than the fact that, remembering, Mike Samich liked her in that race. Now we're shipping north, not getting 20-1 on her, but we are getting 4-1 on a Jonathan Wong horse, which to me, honestly, that's value. We're getting 4-1 on her on the morning line. So I will take her there. You said all the great stuff about Maiden Karoo, other than we really hate that price. I used a third horse. I used the 3 handcuffed because I think that even though this horse is coming out of sprints and I have no indication whatsoever if she can handle routing for the first time, other than the barn is 7% going sprint to route, I really think this horse might be able to just set a perfect trip behind the 2, behind the 6. And what's one thing the 6 doesn't do that you talked about? 6 doesn't pass horses in the stretch. If the 6 is kind of there with the 2, just kind of stalking off, and then Roscoe, there just isn't like that gas pedal to slam down on, it's going to start fading off. I have a slight feeling that this horse might be able to sneak up and get the job done. I also like that we're back at the same level from 2 back when she finished second by a half length. She was 4-1 that day. We're 8-1 here. The big question is, can she handle stretching out to a route? And usually, Mike, the sprint to routers, they tend to be forwardly placed. I don't know if I want her right on the lead here.
Yeah, this horse is one of the ones that I looked at for a while. I mean, I looked at the 1 and the 3 as the other 2 I considered in this spot. Mm-hmm. I do agree with you that the 3 horse could sit a trip here. I'm wondering if they're just going to try and send the 3, which could really make this race an absolute mess. And then it sets up the 1 who's coming from off the pace. But the huge class drop on the 1 was my concern with the 1. So this is one of those spots where I feel like the best 2 horses are the 2 and the 6. And that's kind of why I stopped my ticket there. I wanted to be able to go really deep in that Laurel race that I hated, the 3rd in the sequence. But I wouldn't talk anyone off the 1 or the 3 in this spot.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thank you so much for joining Mike and I to go through the Stronach 5. This is a very fun sequence. If you missed the top of the show, this is $1 minimum. There is a 12% takeout, which is very, very low. We've got to love very horse player friendly. And on top of that, $155,000 carryover into this. Mike said he's expecting the pool to get close to, if not exceed, $1 million on Friday. So this is a very exciting sequence, and we're going to go ahead and give you our tickets one last time. If you're watching live the replay, just take a look below. Mr. Samich, I will start. I'm going to go 268 with 358. 810 47 236. That's $108. Your ticket, please.
I'm going to start out with a single here. I'm going to single the 2 horse, and then I will go 4 deep with the 2, 4, 5, 8, with 2, 4, 5, 8, 10, 11, with 4, 7, with 2, 6 for $1. That'll be $96. Tough to make these tickets on the dollar denomination with 5 races. It's why it makes this sequence pay usually. It's a fun one to do when you're trying to get a big score home. I also want to apologize to Miranda. I mispronounced her last name earlier. I'm sorry. Yeah, so my bad. It's Bungie, like Willie McGee. By the way, I love the Willie McGee reference. That was good. Grew up in St. Louis. That's pretty strong. So sorry about that. My bad. Go check her out at Miranda Bungie so that you can join the NCAA March Madness bracket.
And that is such a great accidental transition, because if you take a look on the screen, racingnews.com, we've got all sorts of previews for this week. The Ricky's Rockets, the Summer Bombs will be up. We also have the previews for the Louisiana Derby. And right here, the Fairgrounds Oaks preview, you can see the very one Dr. Miranda giving you her best bets when she previewed this race. She has been excellent with the dirt female horses. Last year, she was killing it with the Distaff division, the older ones. This year, she's doing a great job covering the Kentucky Oaks Trail. So you can go to racingnews.com or go to the Racing Dudes YouTube page. That preview from Dr. Miranda is available. Check that out. Mr. Samich, do you have any idea what you're going to do for your Samo Bombs this weekend?
I'm going to start with Gulfstream on Friday. I've actually enjoyed Gulfstream now that IRAD's suspended, so that's been nice because it's a lot more even of a track, although it's been pretty chalky the last couple days. But probably start with Gulfstream there. Then I'm going to go to New Orleans and play Fairgrounds down there, and possibly play Santa Anita as well. I haven't decided there. And then Sunday's up on the air still, so we'll figure that out as we go. But it should be a fun weekend, man. I mean, there's a lot of great racing on Saturday, including a very important dirty prep for the 2 people that are on this stream. So hopefully everything goes well.
Oh God, please go well, please. You know what would be a great Starring in My Dreams wins. He's not going to, but if he won and just completely upset the apple cart when everyone's like, well, listen, at least Louisiana's got all the good horses, and then Starring in My Dreams comes up and just goes, gotcha. That'd be great.
So happy for us. That'd be incredible. I'd be happy for you, man. That's your pony there. I did vote for Starring in My Dreams over Life is Good in the Racing Dudes bracket as well.
I appreciate the trolling that people have been doing on that one. Actually, you brought that up. I knew I was going to forget it, so thank you for reminding me. If you're new to the Racing Dudes team, every year at March Madness season, the Racing Dudes put together what they call Derby Madness. So they take all the Kentucky Derby contenders. What is it? 32 of them, right? They put
they do 32. They don't go all 16. They go 32.
Yeah, I don't think Aaron at this point could even name 64 horses that have a shot in hell of. You probably couldn't even get 32. But whoops, I hit the wrong one. I almost just went Inception on us. That almost shared the StreamYard feed. If you want to see something go crazy, that's not a fun one. Over here at Racing Dudes on the Twitter, if you go to twitter.com/racing_dudes. You see right here, we've got all the polls. So you've got Medina Spirit versus Big Lake, Roman Centurion versus Collaborate, Greatest Honor versus Candyman Rocket. Proxy is racing this weekend. He's currently leading over Hidden Stash. Our boy Midnight Bourbon with a nice 79.5%. And then Starring in My Dreams, 5.2%. God bless everyone who's voted for Starring in My Dreams, the improperly spelled Starring in My Dreams. Let's troll this vote and get him to move forward so we can just keep reliving the spelling error.
That would be amazing if we could just get Starring in My Dreams to win this entire thing.
That'd be the last time we ever do that. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Curtis Callaward. He is at SummerBomb18, number 1, number 8. Corporal Rollers, as I said, at Racing_Dudes. Blinkers Off will be on later tonight on Twitter Live, on Facebook Live, on YouTube Live. Going over the weekend's action, they're going to give you the full in-depth preview of the Louisiana Derby, Fairgrounds Oaks. Lots of great stuff happening. And then back tomorrow morning, Ricky's Rockets previewing the Friday at Gulfstream Park, and I'm sure the weekend's action as well. Thank you so much for joining Mike and I. We'll see you back here on Monday to talk about all the fun and action. Until then, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Go green, go white.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.